With a hooey or hitting our loo. With a hooey or hitting our loo. It's breakfast with Bob. Breakfast with Bob. Breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man!
Oh.
Welcome everybody, day 2, Breakfast with Bob. We are brought to you by EAS Sports Nutrition, Hoka One One, Polar, Oscar Wellness, VeloFix, Four Seasons Hualalai will be hosting our World Championship edition on Sunday. And we are broadcasting on triathlonworld.com, our 3-time Olympian and his 2nd time here in Kona, Mr. Tim Don. How you doing, Tim?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's always nice when the sun's out and it's nice and warm.
Well, so we know back home in Colorado, Rachel Joyce, who has been with us many, many times, is watching with little Archie. And you're good buddies, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not the best of buddies with Archie. Whenever I go around, he's asleep. So I don't know if that's me or not, but it's great to see Rachel and Brett so happy, and Archie looks like he's doing really well, and I'm sure Archie will be here one day.
He's going to be a swimmer, right? He's got long arms.
Yeah, long arms. Or a golfer, I thought. And I would definitely push him that way, Rachel.
Exactly. A little more money.
Or tennis.
Yes, golf and tennis are really good.
No, it's just nicer to watch.
Yes.
You know, for Rachel and Brett to go to Wimbledon or to go to the Ryder Cup, I'm not saying not putting any pressure on Archie.
No.
But I'd rather watch those than like 9 hours in the sun.
So Tim, you came here for the first time last year, and really, 3-time Olympian, really made your living as an ITU athlete. 2000, you went to the first ever Olympic triathlon, and you were 10th place. What was it like to see this sport all of a sudden on the Olympic stage?
It was just amazing. I mean, when I started in the early 90s, there was the ITU World Cups,
yes,
and then the World Champs, and then Kona, and then in 98 they got the green light for the Olympics, and I was at the right age, very young to get in there. And if you're going to have your first Olympic triathlon in a country that is passionate about triathlon, there's no better place than Australia. And I remember, the transition area was in front of the Opera House.
Yes.
You're on the start line, you look behind you, and it's the Opera House is right there. And it was very iconic. And it was very amazing race. Yeah, very fun memories.
I was there that day, and I remember McKeely Jones telling me afterwards that she'd been in a lot of loud races before. But never anything like that where her ears were ringing for days.
You know what? It's funny you should say that. On the second lap of the run, I was running with Robbo.
Yes, and, Peter Robertson, from Australia.
So I either had to drop him or drop back because it was deafening. It was like a crowd of a wave of noise that was following us, and they were 3 or 4 deep the whole run. As I say, the whole country, city got behind the triathlon, especially on the first day. McKeely won a medal,
yes,
and then we were the second day. So with the likes of Miles, Walton, and Robbo, the Australians had good chances. So it was a phenomenal experience.
And then you go back to Athens in 2004. 18th, and then Beijing. I know weren't you injured or sick going in there?
No, everything was going great, and unfortunately, I came down with food poisoning 3 days before the race, so I wasn't I wasn't much of anything really, to be honest. So that was. After
2008, did you give thought to maybe it's time to go with a longer course, or because you stayed on through 2012?
I definitely, I always wanted to do Kona.
Yes.
I'm not sure why, but I always wanted to do it at one stage. But I think the lure, I come from London, and the lure of a home Olympic Games, I really wanted to, having seen what happened to the Australians in Sydney and the support, I really wanted to go for it. So, I decided, it took me a while to get over Beijing, but that 3.5 year build to London, that was massive for me. Big commitment, lots of effort.
One of the things we were talking about before we started was in that Olympic, that whole Olympic program, there are, because of the draft legal aspect of it, some countries use domestiques, right? And some countries don't have that option because they got 1 or maybe 2 guys on the team. With England, with the Brownlee brothers, they decided to go with the domestique, and the third person on the team probably would have been you.
Yeah, I'd like to think it would have been, myself or Will Clark maybe,
yes,
but I think it would have been the next best athlete. But, it's triathlon with ITU's a business. The government funds to the tune of well over £2 or £3 million, I think, over a 4-year cycle,
right,
and their goal is results, not performance. So the powers that be, aren't concerned about the wayside. They just want gold, silver, bronze. That's the be all. For the coaches to keep their jobs, the performance directors. You know, after Beijing, there was a big turnover of staff because they didn't perform. A bit like Premier League football.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, they wanted to cover every base, and how they decided to do that is employ the domestiques. And again, with the women, Helen Jenkins had 2 domestiques.
Right.
So in some ways, I can see it, but you know, it's very frustrating when you dedicate 4 years of your life to a goal, and you're still top 10 in the world.
Yes.
Any other country, you would have been picked as first or second choice.
Right.
You know, and it's amazing for Alistair and Jonathan. You know, what they've done for triathlon in our country and globally is just absolutely phenomenal. And I think they could do it without a domestique, to be honest.
Right. I agree.
But yeah, that's the way it was. So that was a great time for me to make changes, move to America, and as you say, second time here in Kona.
I love that. So, but getting into long course racing at in your later 30s, mid 30s, we'll say mid 30s, in your mid 30s, how hard was that to all of a sudden start looking at longer distance racing?
You know what? I always compare it to track and field. You know,
Yeah.
I see myself as an ITU athlete, a 1,500 metre, 5,000, 3,000 metre runner. And as you lose your speed, you know, as you get a bit older, you go to half marathon and marathon. So it was a natural progression in terms of that for me. But no, it's a big change tactically, you know, having to time trial for 90 kilometres where we race criterium style, fast, slow. The swim's very physical and aggressive with ITU, while in Ironman and 70.3, it's quite relaxed and chilled. And again, for me, I found the training simpler. Because I really felt I just had to slow down, become very economical, very efficient. I hadn't ridden a time trial bike since the early 90s because that was when it was non-drafting. So it was adapting to you know, that position, holding power. But for me, it was a new challenge. You know, as I say, it was a whole big new. You know, my wife and my daughter, we moved to America. We now have a son who's American. He was born in Boulder. So, you know, it was exciting, but it was worrying at the time because all my sponsors were UK ITU based.
Sure.
So I lost a lot of them. And I had to kind of reinvent myself as a consistent athlete who was finishing on the podium in all the 70.3s I do, and slowly I made the transition to Ironman.
So when I look at somebody with a PR of 28:56 for 10K, I mean, you're bringing some raw speed to the table. And when I look at last year's, your first attempt here, 15th, and you ran 3:01.
Yeah.
I look at that and go, okay, this guy for sure can go 10 minutes faster than that.
At least.
Yeah,
you know,
don't you think?
15. No, yeah, I mean, I had issues last year. I spent quite a lot of the run in the Portaloos, and I walked a mile as well.
Yes.
So I learnt a lot and didn't quite get my nutrition right.
Yes.
And, you know, that's tough with Ironman. I've only done 3 Ironman in my whole career, so, you know, it's not something you can make a mistake or learn, and then you change it, but you're not necessarily changing it 100%. That's going to work again, and you don't have that many bites of the cherry.
Right.
So I've really been working on nutrition over the since Kona last year. So hopefully things go well this year.
So this year, first at 70.3 Monterey, first at 70.3 Palmas, second Ironman Brazil. Mm-hmm. That's huge. Right?
That was a good race for me. That was my third Ironman, and I biked most of it on my own, which for me is new. And you know. Yeah, I was really happy with my performance there. I was injured leading into the race, so that made it even more satisfying.
Yes.
And to get close to the 8-hour mark is always competitive. I know the courses are never accurate, so you know, saying it was this time or that time is not always relevant. But no, I was really happy with my performance.
Well, especially
there.
It's a hot race, right?
Yeah, it's
you're
hot.
Dealing with heat, and you're going near 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah,
so that gives you a lot of,
isn't it?
It's a long time, especially your
you can
your
fly
Olympic
to London
stuff.
from Denver from that.
Your Olympic times are like 150, 140.
Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
You're like, oh my God, that's a long time.
Do doping control, have a few beers, press conference pizza, and you've still got 3 hours left.
You know what's amazing? We were doing the announcing at the San Diego ITU race, and usually when we're doing the call of the swim, the last swimmer's coming out in 2:20 or something like that. Well, when we're doing it in San Diego, we did the race, the top 3, and we're like, it's been under 2 hours, and we're done. I
know,
like
yeah.
that.
It's great. I mean, it's great for television, especially incorporating the
Yeah.
sprint race, and the team relays seem to be
The team relay is
really
fun.
pushing it more popular. And I think it's very unique that you have a mixed team as well.
Okay.
You know, in the Commonwealth Games, I think it's one of the only sports where there's a relay with 2 men and 2 women.
Yep.
So that's unique in itself. But yeah, it's fast, it's exciting, it's very television friendly, and you know, I think we're going to see a lot more, you know, ITU athletes making the jump to 70.3 and then eventually Ironman
Well,
as well.
what I was wondering about when you start talking about Chattanooga next year in 70.3 Worlds, there's always the option of potential you could see a Javier Gomez besides yourself and Jan Frodeno and Sebastian Kienle and all the other top guys and Craig Alexander who's still up there. You could see an Alistair and Johnny Brownlee. You could potentially see a Richard Murray and a Mario Mola and a Javier Gomez.
I will not disagree. I'm 100% sure Javi will race.
Totally. Don't you think?
Yeah, and I think, you know, a couple of those guys might try an early season 70.3 and
Just to see,
and then maybe qualify. Yeah, but I think it's great for the sport. It's moving in the right direction, which is excellence, and
Yes.
excellence creates excellence. I think you know, people have been more diligent about their preparation, and I think it's the ITU kind of professionalism that's coming across.
It really is.
And you know, I think, you know, we're working on aerodynamics now on the bike. You know, we're working on better hydration and nutrition strategies, better equipment, you know, better race planning as well, and preparing for individual races. So, and I think a lot of that does come from the ITU side of the sport. And you know, everyone wants to chase Jan here, and he's set the bar so high. You know, it's just phenomenal.
7:35 at Challenge Run, yeah.
And, you know, I think just the way he presents himself,
Yes,
you know,
very professional.
very professional, but very, very likable. And I think everyone's got so much respect for him. So, you know, with role models like him in our sport, you know, the long course, I think those younger guys are really, you know, going to be biting at the bit to emulate him.
Is it hard? Because a lot of times I've seen people, the 5K, 10K guys, step up the marathon.
Yeah.
And one of the problems becomes they replace quality with quantity. And so I'm a marathoner now.
Yeah.
I've got to do, I just need to do long runs. I don't need to do that high intensity stuff anymore. When you're doing sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
Is it hard not to lose that top end?
Oh, absolutely. And I do for you know, like as you said, I did 3:01 last year, so I'm averaging over 4 minutes a kilometre. I still do some fast track sessions and lots of turnovers on the treadmill just to
Yes.
keep my speed. You know, people often say, "Oh, you're so fast." And it's like, well, that's probably because I work at it. You know,
It doesn't just happen.
No, not
Yeah.
overnight. No, I like to keep a touch on that, especially 70.3. I mean, you know, there were, I think,
You're racing
10
those.
of us
Yes.
that are running 72 or quicker off a solid
Yes.
bike.
Yes.
You know, in the world champs. So, you know, it's not like, you know, we're plodding.
No.
You know, you still have to be, you know, a bit
Right
of
there.
fast twitch in you as well.
So last year, 52 for the swim, so you're right there. 4:38 for the bike. This year, did you do a lot of more time trial specific stuff?
Yeah, I did get a penalty last year, so that
Oh, you
that
did?
includes.
Oh.
I got a penalty for cutting in.
Oh, for
so
coming into- okay.
So yeah, I had a
Right.
5-minute penalty.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I've worked a lot. I've really worked on my position and holding my position, holding watts.
Right.
Not anyone. It's quite easy to hold a great aerodynamic position on an easy ride, but to hold it while you're doing your efforts. And coming from ITU, you know, when the going gets tough, I have a tendency to get out the saddle and crank it. And I've really focused and worked on that aspect of my race. So yeah, and I think that showed for me in the Brazil Ironman.
Yes.
So I'm hoping to be, you know, similar here. But yeah, I think the first 40 to 50k is very sharp and fast. So you need to have your wits about you, and you know, not drop too far back in the group.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm confident. I'm in good shape, and I'm here to try and wrestle a better performance than last year.
So when you, for you, when you're 15th, to me that always, especially when I look at the 301 and I realize how that's nowhere near what you're capable of. When you look at this race, is top 5, is that something you're thinking about, or do you just think about time? What do you think about going into this?
You know, I think going into it from a long way out, I think about my performance and how I can improve in certain areas. And, you know, without a doubt, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think I had a shot. You know, and I think, you know, anyone who can get top 20, you know, if
Yes.
you can learn and move on, then maybe you get top top 10. If you can get a top 10, you can fight for a top 5, and then you're sniffing at a podium. But I'm under no illusion that you've got to respect the course, respect the weather conditions,
Sure.
the wind, the heat, the humidity. And on top of that, you've got to have a bit of luck. Jan's first year, he punctured.
Yes.
That
Got a penalty.
Yeah, that could have changed everything. So, I definitely will be looking for a bit of luck. But, I'm going to be focused on myself, and I really want to be in a good position coming off the bike, within striking distance, 4 to 6 or 7 minutes of the leaders. And then, as you said, hopefully I can, run to what I believe I'm capable of.
What would it mean to you?
Sounds simple.
It does. It's pretty simple. It's simple when you're sitting in air conditioning to talk about what you're going to do. What would it mean to you to win this race?
Oh, I mean, everything. I mean, this is the race to win. I've done almost any format, any distance in most countries. So, I came here in 2011 and saw Crowe win, and
Yes.
living in Boulder, there's a few people that have podiumed and won who train there. So, it would mean a lot. And, I'll be smiling ear to ear.
When Jan won, I asked him if compare winning the gold and winning the Ironman, and which one had more impact on you as a person in your career, and he said winning the Ironman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think German has such strong heritage for the Ironman distance
Yes.
races, from Jürgen Zach and some of the older guys, and then
Oh,
moving
Riegel,
through.
yeah.
So, I can understand that. I think, though, in my country, I think having Alistair and Jonathan win gold and silver, and Vicky winning bronze this year, I think only if I won in a world record 7:34, I don't think it would get recognised in the UK. Yeah, I don't think the media there are that into Ironman, unfortunately, compared to their passion for ITU. So hopefully, we can change that. There's a fair few Brits racing here.
I love it. Well, Tim, thanks so much for taking time. Really, really an honor to get to know you, and I do think that we're going to see a lot better run this time around. No question.
No question. That's it. Yeah. Train hard, race easy.
Train hard, race easy. The Tim Don story. Pacho Man, take us out, baby.
With a hooey, oh hitting all loop. With a hooey, oh hitting all loop. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob. And brother Tim.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you
was
very
really
much.
good. Oh, let's get a photo.